Good afternoon, Fantasy Bay. We're here for a week 2 preview of the Falcons versus the Eagles. I'm actually really excited about this matchup. This is a matchup that I'm looking forward to most this week. Love the Falcons offense. Love the Eagles offense. This is going to be a barn burner. I'm looking forward to this. It's going to be great. All right, let's get this started. So this game's going to be on Sunday at 8:20 p.m. It's the night game. The over-under opened at 51. It is now 52.5. The spread was originally a pick'em, and it is now negative 1.5 towards the Eagles. All right, let's get it started with the Falcons. I believe this is going to be a shootout, so I'm looking to start plenty of players in this game. All right, let's start with Matt Ryan. The Eagles are 8th against the quarterback. The Falcons have a weak offensive line, as we saw last week against the Vikings. I know that the Vikings are good, but man, they made the Falcons look terrible. And with them making them look terrible, the Matt Ryan also looked pretty bad. The offensive line allowed 4 sacks. Matt Ryan had 33 completions out of 46. He had 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. One, he was about to get sacked. He threw it up to Julio Jones, which, I mean, that works half the time, but he threw it a little ahead of him, so Julio couldn't get it. The second one, it looked like he was just throwing it away, and it just dropped right in the hands of the defender. So he had two bad interceptions. It was I don't want to take the Vikings game as a throwaway, but man, the Vikings either look really good or Atlanta looks really bad, and I think that Atlanta's going to come back this week. Matt Ryan had a QBR of 45.3. He also had 2 rushes for 24 yards, which is abnormal for him. I like that. All right, let's go down to the wide receivers. So wide receivers, we're going to start off with Julio Jones. So the fun fact about the Eagles, they were 25th against the wide receivers. So I'm looking forward against that. Julio Jones should definitely feast. I expect Julio Jones to have a really good game. He normally dominates the Eagles, and if you need proof, in 2018, he had 10 when he played the Eagles. He had 10 receptions and 169 yards. No touchdowns, but Julio Jones has never been a huge touchdown guy. I do believe touchdowns go up this year in comparison to the 2017 and before, but I don't believe that Julio Jones is a touchdown monster. So keep that in mind when I give you these stats. In 2016, when he was facing the Eagles, he had 10 receptions and 135 yards. Now, if you average those last 2 games, in the previous 2 times he faced the Eagles, 10 receptions, 152 yards. I will take that every day and twice on Sunday. Julio Jones is going to feast, and I believe it's going to be great. So next, we're going to have Calvin Ridley. So Calvin Ridley has a favorable matchup as well. He played pretty well last week. He had 64 yards and a touchdown, 4 of 6 receiving. I think that if you're looking for some upside, fire him up. This should be a high-scoring game. The over-under is 52+. I'm trying to get as much as I can in here. So we have Mo Sanu. Mo Sanu, I believe, is underrated. He's always a good flex play. He's not going to give you high upside, but he has a decent floor. All right, let's move down to running backs. We have Devonta Freeman. So the Eagles are second against the running back. Devonta Freeman played terribly last week against the Vikings, but I went back and watched that game. He didn't have much to work with half the time. The offensive line really wasn't helping too much. The Vikings were in the backfield. He did what he could. I believe in Devonta Freeman as a player. As long as he stays healthy, I think at the end of the year he ends as a top 10, top 15 back. It's just a terrible start. And I don't think it gets too much better here. With the Eagles' defense being so good up front and terrible in the terrible in the cornerback area, I definitely believe that Devonta Freeman's going to have another rough game. So I think he is a good buy low candidate. He had 8 rushes for 19 yards, 3 receptions for 12 yards, and a fumble. After the fumble happened, the snaps seemed to shift into the Ito Smith range. So it turns out that he was 50% snaps, with Ito Smith. And I don't believe that that's going to be the same moving forward. I think that was one of those, hey, you fumbled, tighten up. This backup's going to get in here and get some work. So I'm not too worried about it, but he should at least have an okay game this game. I wouldn't be surprised if he had a touchdown and 70 yards. Also, like I said, I'm going to be coming out with a buy low video, and I think he's going to be one of them because people aren't going to be appreciating how he played in these first 2 weeks, considering they drafted him in the first 3 rounds. Austin Hooper had himself a game. 9 for 9, 77 yards, 20% of the target share. Man, that is a game for Austin Hooper. It's a great game for a tight end, and the Eagles are 24th against tight ends, so I actually think that he can continue this madness of amazingness. I don't know about 9 for 9 for 77, but I do believe he can have a passable tight end game. I would fire him up. Like I said, I'm trying to get everybody I can in this game. Carson Wentz is playing the Falcons. They're 26th against the quarterback. I expect him to have an amazing game. Last week, he was 28 for 39 completions. He had 313 yards, 3 touchdowns, 3 carries for 5 yards. He's not running the ball too much, but, you know, when you throw for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns, I'm not too mad at you. He had a QBR of 93.2. I think he should have a good game. I think Deshaun Jackson opens up this offense with the deep passes. And now Deshaun Jackson's actually doing some intermediate passes as well. So I'm really, really big on Deshaun Jackson. Side note, Deshaun Jackson has a special place in my heart. I told you I'd tell you when I had any biases come up. So I was in New York when I was a sophomore in college, and I was visiting some friends. We're watching the Eagles-Giants game last time Deshaun Jackson was on the Eagles, and I just remember the Giants are about to kick it off. I'm hanging out with a bunch of New York fans, and they're just like, this is over. There's no way anything happens. I'm like, hey, guys, watch out. I'm telling you, just do not kick it to Deshaun Jackson. You do not want that man to have the ball. And they're just saying, Mike, you have no idea what you're talking about. This game's over. Man, 30 seconds later, Deshaun Jackson up the field, gone. So Deshaun Jackson is one of those, my guys. I love Deshaun Jackson. He's great. And to watch how he played in this last game, 8 out of 10 receptions, great connection with Carson Wentz even throughout the preseason, 154 yards, 2 touchdowns, 26% target share. I don't think that the 26% target share stays, but I do believe he's heavily involved in this offense because he scares defenders. I don't care if he's in his 30s. This man is lightning fast, and defenders do not want to face him because they get burned on a regular basis. So I say fire up Deshaun Jackson. I believe he's going to have a good week this week, just like he did last week. Maybe it's not 2 touchdowns, 150, but I'll take a touchdown, 130. All right, so Alshon Jeffrey, his running mate, he went 5 for 7, 49 yards and a touchdown. I actually think that increases a little bit. I think Deshaun Jackson comes down a little bit in his targets, and I think Alshon Jeffrey goes up a little bit. But I still think they're both very serviceable, and I think they're going to eat against this Atlanta Falcons defense. I'm not really picking up Nelson Aguilar either, if you were curious. So the Falcons are 28th against the running back. I believe that this is a running back by committee, but not as much as y'all may think. So if you just look at the numbers, people think that Miles Sanders actually had a bad game. If you watch the game, you might have a different opinion. So first off, he was 48th in snap percentage. That's great in comparison to the 23% Jordan Howard had and the 31% that Darren Sproles had. So combined, they're about what Miles Sanders had. So that's check 1 in the positive. Check 2 is he almost scored on the 1-yard line, got sacked, and then again, he had a touchdown, except there was a flag on the play. He looks great. It looks like they're going to have this as a running back by committee, But if by committee you mean Miles Sanders is still going to get a lot of the work and pretty much dominate the snap count, I'll take it. And I think he's a worthy flex, personally. This is going to be a high scoring game. And I think as a flex, he could do a good job. I'm not touching Jordan Howard. And I'm not mad at you if you stash Darren Sproles. Darren Sproles, that man does not age. He is going to be the next Frank Gore. That guy plays very hard, and he is old. But, man, 3 for 3 receptions. I watched him juke, move, spin. It was impressive. He did a great job. All right, and then, of course, you're starting Zach Ertz. You don't have a choice. If you drafted Zach Ertz, you're starting him. And I think that he has a good game. He had 18% of the target share, 5 for 7 receptions, 54 yards. I like him. Fire him up. All right, and that's going to wrap up the preview of the Falcons versus the Eagles. If you have any questions, hit me up. I'll be coming out with game previews for all the other games later today and tomorrow. Check them out on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter. I'll see you later, Fantasy Bay.